All right. Yes, we start then. Thank you all for coming here. Um, my name is Frederick. I'm 37 years old. I was adopted from India to Norway when I was approximately 1 year old. Um, yes, I lived mostly a good life in the beginning of my life, but let's just say that I could feel that I had very early on panic attacks, and it was combined with attachment traumas when I was not close with my family and stuff like that. So basically, when I started to go to school, because unfortunately I look a little bit different, so I was bullied and experienced racism very early on. And but I also had very good friends. So for me, it was sport, football, and a very normal life, but I could not concentrate. I was not really in the moment. But as a child, it's very hard to tell when you have anxiety and feeling strange and tinglings in your body and your stomach, and you don't feel well. But life went on and it went good as well. Again, I had a lot of good friends, and I was like trying to fit in like everybody else did. Um, my story is so long, so I will just cut to the chase. And around when I was in my teens, I got more depressed and more anxiety and panic attacks. So basically, I dropped out of school in junior high school, and I could not concentrate on school anymore and stuff like that. So was when I was 18 years old, that would be 19 years ago now. I went to my first psychiatrist trying to get treatment because I had OCD, which I read about myself, which I understood I had. And it was combined, of course, with anxiety. It's an anxiety disorder, basically. Unfortunately, the meetings were supposed to be around 45 minutes. They lasted 15. I was put on antidepressives medication, a lot of different ones, which I tried out without very good conversation and therapy. I was also put on Seroquel, which is antipsychotic medication, which then basically ended me on the hospital. It was hard for me to breathe. And basically then I was sent home. I stopped all those medications. And I was in that same treatment for maybe 4 or 5 years, getting worse. My mom was actually calling the hospital and asked them what is wrong with him. He's not getting better. He's getting actually worse. Is there something else we could do? Not much response went on. Lucky for me, I had a very good friend who was studying psychiatry, and it was this electroshock treatment where you basically are put down and then they actually shock your brain with electricity. And they did that on me 10 times without actually following up the treatment. It's basically something you do when you are so depressed you could get the window to work effectively in treatment. So that did not work either. Um, I went to more in the middle of Norway to an institution there, and I got the right treatment for my OCD disorder. But what they did not do was actually to check out more. They did not see the whole me, basically. And I've been in and out of institutions in Norway. I've been trying a lot of different medications, a lot of different therapies, basically, all from cognitive to psychotherapy to mindfulness, EMDR, yeah, a lot of different things. And I could never feel like no one actually understood me. And I did not get any better after all these years. And I was probably one of the first in Norway to try the new ketamine treatment. And I did that back in 2018. And that was because of depression again. I always fall down back to the depression because of the anxiety attacks. Long story short, again, then finally I was starting to read more about these type of things and trauma because I was trying to fix myself basically. And finally, I got to meet a therapist in Spain, and I've been in a treatment with her for 4 years, and it's actually working because finally it was someone who actually saw that I actually had adoption traumas, and that was the missing part of it. And she's actually with us today here, so it would be nice if she could also tell more about our experience working together and what are you basically going to look after when you are working with people with adoption and traumas and inner child traumas and these topics. Her name is Laura Garcia, and yes, please come in if you can.
Well, good afternoon. That's me. It's a pleasure to be here and being with Frederick and trying to help all these things that he's trying to do. And of course, I support him. It's been a pleasure to work with him all these 4 years and see his evolution in his work and how well getting to know what he really has or what he's been through, the consequences. You want me to talk a little bit now, Frederick, about our work?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, we've been for 4 years working together, and one of the things that for him was very important to work is when he came to see me, he was like living like as everybody in trauma. He was living in the past and in the trauma. I usually like argue a little bit with him in the sessions because was always like reading things about trauma, about PTSD, and I was dissociation, and I started to tell him, stop reading things and stop it. You have to come to the present. And he was like, no, I have to discover, I have to go through the trauma. And I was like, no, you don't have to go through the trauma. You have to get out of the trauma. And this was like, he didn't understand what I was talking about. He was like, no, 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 you don't know because this and this and this. It was like, no, you have to get to stabilize yourself. And for that, you have to get out of the trauma. You are not your trauma. This is something very important when we work with adopted children or adults that have been adopted in their childhood. And they usually come with PTSD. I have a PTSD. Of course, you have. If you've been through a trauma, whatever trauma is, you have PTSD. But that's not like the most important thing. That is like one of the consequences, or it could also be like almost a symptom, but it's not the important thing. You have to go through that and see what happened and how did you get there in some way. So it's very important in his story when we got back, and try to help him to discover and see that the important thing started when he was like abandoned, right? And his first trauma was being abandoned. The second one was when he got out of his country, and this is something that usually therapists and parents that adopt children don't think about. It's very important because it's not your country, so it's like two traumas. You get out of your country, and you're not with your parents. So here starts the story. And PTSD is like nothing compared with all this stuff. So it's very important to go back and see how being adopted is a big trauma because you were abandoned. And then, well, usually patients have, you have to look behind that. For example, one of the issues or problems these kind of children have are, for example, deregulation. You have to work on this when you have a patient that comes with a trauma, with abandonment trauma, the aggressive behaviors, the fear of abandonment, learning difficulties. As Frederick said, it was very hard for him to concentrate and learn. This is important in trauma because usually therapists know this if you don't work with trauma or the parents. Problems with attachment and relationships, problems adapting to the environment. This is something that usually happened to him because of his color. In Norway, he had a lot of problems with this, and this is like very important. As for example, mm, the thing that we were talking about, when one of the things that stress causes is the being in the past. So one of the important things is work with patients to be in the present, because they usually are living in the past, in the trauma, or in the future. All the things that can happen to me, or I'm not going to have a future, or the things I couldn't do. This is something we worked a lot, Frederick and me, about having a future. It's like, in the things he have lost because of how he's been all these years. And it's very important because now I think he's learned a little bit more about living in a future, that he has a future, and like doing the grief of what he couldn't have because of all the things that happened in his life, all the treatments he gone through. And he said something very important was the thing about OCD. He was like diagnosis of OCD in the first place. One of the important things about this in OCD is when he talks to you about his story, it's like it was very important, the OCD. I think here the important thing had to be, see the function of OCD in him. OCD is people with trauma usually have symptoms of OCD because of the control. When you have a trauma, you lose control. So usually, this kind of patients develop a lot of obsessions, or they could have a lot of symptoms of OCD or OCD, but it's like this is like one symptom in some way. You have to go on and see. He was bullied. He had a lot of problems with his adopted parents too, and it was like you go adding things. When we started working, we looked after or behind the PTSD. We looked for the function of the OCD. We like had, oh, we had to see the whole story, not only parts of it. And also the dissociation we worked through, and looking at his symptoms. The other part we have to look in patients with adopted is the personality disorders. This is very important. He has symptoms of borderline, and this was very important for him too, so he could understand a lot of the behaviors and the thoughts he has and difficulties that he has in his life. So it's like we have like a whole bunch of things that we are making order of them, and trying to, the first of all, trying to stabilize that he has stabilized a lot. He sees a future, he's more in the present. He has like more tools to live his life right now, and he's doing quite different in his understanding what the adoption made in his identity and all that he has gone through. I think this is very important. And I don't know, Frederick, if there's something else you want me to point out, or I don't know if.
It's very good what you are saying. We have been working a lot and getting the. It's so nice to finally be understood as a whole person, and the whole life basically is a consequence of who you are and what you are, the way you are and the way you are thinking. And for me, I think it was a very big discovery, the borderline thing as well, because it's been so hard for me to regulate emotions and being misunderstood. Like I told you, I've been in and out other institutions in Norway, the best ones, like Viken and Modum Bad, and they would never see the adoption trauma as something. So I could never get the PTSD diagnosis. And it's very strange actually, because when you have been through so much and you really are hoping and trying so much therapy and always ending up basically getting misunderstood so much, you actually think there's something wrong with you. You cannot be fixed. You're like an alien in this world, and you feel so alone in it too. So basically, working with Laura, she also said maybe you could try to get into some adoption groups and talk to other people who are in the same situation, which I did with Adoption in Change and Adopted Together. And I can see some of these people from these groups are here present, which is very nice. And it's a lot to learn from each other, but it's very sad that it's not enough knowledge of these type of things to these people where I've been, at least. Right now, in 2016 as well, I will jump a little bit forward as well now. And I started this basically investigation, and I contacted the lawyer. He's here present too, Thor Klausen, and it was basically to see if I could get some compensation because I lost so much of my life and so much of my working life. I was a young adult when I got into all of this in the psychiatry system, where I've been a throwing ball for years. And we started basically in 2016 trying to file a complaint to the Norwegian patient um, compensation. It's an organization in Norway. If something have happened to you, wrong treatment in health or whatever, you are supposed to be able to apply and see if you could get some compensation. Little did I know that was in 2016, and I'm still working on it now. So that's 9 hard years I've been working and struggling to basically prove what Laura Garcia is telling. And they are fighting with everything they can, so I will not get compensated. And Thor is basically here to tell more about why it's so hard to win cases in Norway, especially when it comes to psychiatry issues and mental health issues. So please, Thor, you can say something.
Okay. Uh, I'm a lawyer. I work with compensation at like Frederick, the Norwegian compensation organization. It's the government who runs that. The problem is in Frederick's case is that in health in order to get compensation from psychiatric are very difficult because there are to qualify for compensation, the patient for a patient injury, 3 conditions must be met, and all of those 3 is important that they are met. If not, it's just one is out, there will be no compensation. The first is that the patient injury must be due to a treatment failure. And in Frederick's case, this is the most important one. The second is that the patient must be, the patient injury must have resulted in a financial loss. In Frederick's case, that's not the problem to meet. The second is that the case must not be too old. The patient injury must not be too old. In Frederick's case, they haven't exactly. I helped him to write a subpoena to the court, and now we are waiting for movement in the case right now. And what the state say that they don't think Frederick he has not proven that he has injured due to a treatment failure. And that's quite normal in psychiatric cases because you have no visible, there are no visible injuries. You are not you're not, your leg is not hurt or lost or something like that. So they, when they consider if you have if there is any treatment failure, they use the guidelines. In Norway, the guidelines are for psychiatric are very broad. Fredrik told in the beginning how this started, and it's from 20, and he was treated with antipsychotic. They have no idea what was his case. They tried out. They said he was psychotic, so of course they use antipsychotic on him. And when they diagnosed him with OCD, they follow that all the time. They haven't divided on. They have not seen Fredrik as a whole person. They follow that line and forget that there could be something else. For example, if you see through his journals, the word trauma is not is in all his papers. It's never mentioned before. The first time I think was 2018. I think he has told his doctors that he has problem with his skin color. Has several things that he has that his childhood I think is problematic. They have not asked him those questions, and when that happens, they turn around the argument and say that, yeah, but he didn't say anything about trauma, and he has OCD. So that's the main problem. They haven't looked outside the OCD cases, and that's quite normal. And when you see statistics, people who ask patients who ask for compensation in I think it was 25%, something like that, was those cases, and almost everybody was rejected from not from court before you can go to court. So it's very hard to get compensation for a patient injury because the routines that they follow are very broad. So even if he has documented it, and by the way, they don't say that his diagnoses now are wrong. They just say that, yeah, Fredrik didn't give any information about that to us, so we couldn't set that diagnosis on him. So it's very hard for him to justify his claims because of that. And when we took out the subpoena and they answered the subpoena, the state, they argue against everything, every possible thing that they rejected, they did everything. And they haven't directly said that the case is too old, but it seems like it. They're trying, they're fishing for that one also. So he is met by, they are disagree with everything in the subpoena. And it's very hard. So what we hope is that we got and by the way, Fredrik has filed for compensation 2 times, in 2016 and 2021, I think. And the reason was that in the beginning, Fredrik, his application for compensation was because of OCD, and that didn't work, and they rejected him while they handled his application about that, and they complained about the negative. We found out that he has PTSD, and then we put it before they are finished with the complaint. We said it. So what they say was that, okay, you need to get a new application for the PTSD diagnosis, and then we did. And when that happened, he also get a second diagnosis, borderline. And they said, yeah, of course, you have that. That's for sure. But we didn't know that. because you didn't told us that you had that. You didn't have any, you didn't give us any information about that. So that's how the case is. So, and they use the same, in both of those cases, they use the same specialist in psychology in both of them. That's not good. So what we're hoping for now is that we can have a second opinion with a new specialist decided by the court. It's not the same person; it's another one, and we are now waiting for the order from the court to say that's okay. The state hasn't, the lawyers there hasn't rejected my suggestion about it and how we should do that. So that's been good, but it is very expensive to have that, and I don't know how much it will cost for to have that. I discussed it with a colleague of my lawyer, and she said not in psychologist, that was somatic, and she said to me that they get from the court 150,000 Norwegian crown for the specialist in that area. But it depends from case to cases. The last cases I have was about 38,000 and 50,000. So from the specialist. So it's impossible for me to say how much it will cost Fredrik, because Fredrik has to pay in advance, sometimes normally in advance. And then we get a second opinion to what specialists are saying. So that's the reason. To get back to Fredrik, is that the reason why it's so hard to get is that Fredrik has to prove everything. He has to prove that every of those three conditions are met. Not the government, not the state. He has to prove it, and that's very hard.
And that's very hard because when the journals are not been done thoroughly and good enough, I get, of course, punished for that too. And it's horrible because it feels like it's an injustice. It feels like basically they basically are trying to, everything I've been through and everything I've been trying to fight for. It feels like it's so unfair, you know, after everything I've been through and what they put me through in so many things. And I've been fighting so much with trying to win this case, and also I've been in and out of treatments. To a point in 2018, I almost died actually, because the ketamine treatment got me lifted up very much. So I actually survived that. But it's been a very hard road for me to go back. I don't know if maybe in the future I could go back and work again. I don't know, maybe. But it would be nice because to get some compensation will also justify, and someone will admit that they were wrong, I was right. And I also know it because you don't have to be adopted, by the way, to feel traumas. Because I've been in and out of so many institutions, and unfortunately, for the most part, I've seen other people who became friends of me have not get the right treatment as well, because it's not enough competence on traumas. At least my experience has been. And I do think that now, when I also met so many adoptees, we are dealing with the same thing. So it's not just me, because they always are telling me and being used against me, it's only your case and stuff like that, but it's not really. More of my story, of course, is in a podcast I did with Jannike, so you can hear my whole story there. And I've been in 2 articles. And again, like my lawyer said, this has been costing us a lot of money. To a point, unfortunately, my mom had to basically, she sold the apartments for a lot of reasons, because we were moving to the south to see if I could get better treatment there than the north. But if she did not, I could not take this expensive ketamine treatment. We've been paying, of course, for now. It's a lot of medicines. You have to pay transport back and forth from Tromsø to Oslo to do the treatments, the hotel, food, etc. So I started this crowdfunding thing like maybe 2 months ago, and I'm very grateful and very thankful for everyone who has been donating. It's around 2,000 euros there now. My message for this meeting will also be, of course, that people who are here can at least share it and maybe donate. And the rest I will try to figure out a way to find money myself, because I really want a second opinion, because the person who has been judging against me has been doing that now 3 times in a row. And it basically feels very unfair. And they don't see that. It's strange, because it seems to me that in Norway they have different learning books in psychiatry, because OCD is basically a symptom on PTSD, which I have. So I've had it my whole life, probably then, at least most parts. I do think that there's so many cases in the psychiatry system that are rejected to get compensation, basically because it's not somatic, probably, but also they don't want to admit that they were wrong, because we know that the systems are very flawed in Norway and a lot of things. You have to wait for a lot of months to get treatments. I have a lot of friends who are still in treatments. Unfortunately, I had some friends who actually is not here with us today because of wrong treatments. It could have been me. I'm still alive. I've planned this to be for a long time. But it's so many lives to get ruined, not only the patient, but also basically families get destroyed if of not getting the right treatment early on in life. And I've seen that so many times. And that I'm also doing, I think one of the motivation to do this is actually because I'm a very stubborn person, but also I've seen how much systems and not the right competence, so not seeing the whole human being again, how much it ruins lives again. And I've seen that we are trying to change things. I've been working with Mental Health Norway too, and we had a meeting with the leader there, Ole Marius, and he says it's changing very slowly, and they know all about these flaws in the system. But of course, it's all about the money, it's all about competence, and it's all about basically having the time to see the whole human being. Other than that, I'm very tired and exhausted. I've been doing this for so many years now, so I'm looking forward, even though this case is over, I'm finally gonna try to use my time on different things. Maybe live normal life, whatever that could be. Ingrid, she has been, she's in charge of the a group Adopted Together, and me and her had very good conversations. She's also a therapist now. And I don't know, maybe you want to talk a little bit about your work and what you've been doing.
Yeah. What can I tell you? It's very interesting that we are talking about now, and it's very real what you're talking about. Everyone, I'm not supposed to say everyone. I can speak for myself and those adoptive I have talked to, but it's many adoptees who have experienced much of the same as you have, Frederick. And for me, I have tried to go to therapy from I was just about 20, and I said I was adopted, and they don't react. They just say, okay, and then we go on. And I have never had any help from the public therapy or psychiatric help. I have never been seen for what I have been I have with me because of my adoption. So when I got 55, I will take a test, and they found out that I have complex PTSD and ADHD. And I lived my whole life, or my half life, with something that I have struggled very much with. I struggled all my life with everything. And now, when I'm so old, as 55, I'm not old, but I am 55. And they said that this is what you have. And then I go back and see what life I had and how much struggle it's been, and never anyone has seen me. And I think it's very sad. It's a very big sorrow. But I've tried to do my life a bit better for myself and those who are around me. And I have been a therapist in emotional trauma and the emotional part, emotional therapist. And I've met a lot of adoptives in my group. And we are helping each other to learn and to figure out what we have with us because we are adoptive. And it's very helpful to help each other, talk about it. And we do too, Frederick. And to understand each other, because it's we who is adopted who have to help each other, because no one sees us, no one understands us. And the knowledge in PTSD, ADHD, all the psychiatric disability, if you can call it that, they won't see it, they won't understand it, and they won't care. So I don't know what to do myself other than help each other. So that's my experience. But because of my learning and knowledge, I have learned that I can go on with my life and have a better life with my knowledge and my possibility, or what can I say, to help others and myself. It's given me so much in my life now, the past few years. So I can live with it, but I see there is many who struggle, and I don't think it's fair, because we haven't been asked to be moved. We haven't been asked to don't have a mother or family or a country, or we haven't asked to be separated from that. We wanted to be with our mother and experience a so-called normal upbringing, but we haven't, and we haven't had a word in our own life. We just have to adopt, and that's not fair. So yeah, a little bit about my experience and my life. Thank you.
Sandra has put up her hand.
Sandra, yes. So yeah, the question is very good to have now. Sandra, please. We cannot hear you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say that I very much can recognize myself, my own story to yours, Frederick. I was adopted when I was 6 years old, and has also been a little bit in and out of different, what do you call it, like instances,
Institutions.
Yes. Um, and as you said, Ingrid, and as you said, Frederick, every time they ask me, like, they tell me, like, just start where you feel it's natural to begin. And I always start telling them, like, well, yes, I'm adopted. I was adopted when I was 6 years old, blah, 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 blah. And it never gets picked up. Every time they jump onto the next trauma. And because of my past and because of my childhood, I think that I'm also have been a little bit more vulnerable to other traumas. So I have experienced a lot of different traumas. So when I talk with psychologists here in Norway and then tell them and start my story in Brazil or with my adoption, and they always jump to the other traumas. And then I always feel so
Unseen.
confused, like, what are you gonna do? Like, they are the therapist and you are just you know. But you can feel the feeling.
They should know, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's very hurtful for they not to. I understand you a lot. Thank you. And but is there any questions actually to people can ask whatever they want to the lawyer, to Laura or Ingrid, me, or somebody else who want to say something? Of course they can.
I just put up my hand. I'm here with Frederick. That's why it sounds and looks like Frederick is putting up his hand. I only have a comment, really. It's incredible to see and hear and connect the dots between like Ingrid, Laura, and Tuo and Frederick to see like the basis of everything. A really a government or a city that don't really help you and you get screwed over in that kind of sense. Also in the way of myself being a kid with a normal growing up with biological parents at home, you still know where you're coming from. But when you're adopted, the smallest part, I guess, is to be adopted and have new parents. But the big part might be you don't know where you're from, but you are from the beginning. So it's just it makes me sick to my stomach to see that you don't get the help you are supposed to get.
It does to all of us, actually. Yes. Is there anyone else who want to say something?
I have a question.
Yes.
I think the lawyer, Thor, he said something about those 3 points we have to look out for in that Frederick has to prove those 3 points you pointed out. And why is it like that? Is it in all cases anything you take up in the court or you want to go to court or something it is about your life? It's these 3 points you have to look at and you have to prove. And why is it like that? Why is it so difficult? Is it because they don't want us to, or is it economical questions in here or reasons? I don't know. I just try to understand why it is so difficult.
The law is very clear on that. It's those who take out the subpoena who has to prove it. That's the main rule. That's common law. The problem is it's not. It's several. It's hard for the law is that Fredrik, and everybody who has the compensation must prove it. That's it. The problem is related to the system. The system is like that. That first time I heard about it, is that possible? When you apply for compensation for patient injuries, and normally they said no, you have get a fair treatment. You have the right to complain, and Fredrik did that. Those who handle the complaint, where they make a final decision, those it's Pasientskadenemnda, we call it. It's a border patient border, and they used. I heard for some years ago they used 20 minutes per patient per case. And if you see that there are 1,000 pages in the journal, for example, or 2,000, how can they make a decision? And when they are finished, you have to take it to court. There is no way out. You have to go to court. And the court is the state against the state. The state have lots of resources. And then you have people as Fredrik, maybe yourself, they don't have a lot of resources. And then you need a new second opinion from a specialist, and that costs a lot of money, and you have to pay it yourself normally. So it costs several $100,000 Norwegian crowns to do that. And so it's very hard if you see all that. So so you at the if it's still correct that they use 20 minutes per case, even that they're not they don't go deep inside the cases, and it's the government. They have enormous resources, and the lawyer who is against us, they have put a lawyer who has the right to go to Supreme Court. She also she is a teacher to us lawyers each year. So she lectures that. So our opponent is a formidable enemy, if you can see it that way. And they can use as long time they want. There are no limits. But we have a lot of limits. So it's very, how should I put it? It's the power between those two parts are enormous, and that's the problem.
It's not fair.
No, the system is rigged by that. And when you see the statistic, 65% of every cases the state wins. The rain statistic. That's the problem.
I see. Thank you.
And there is one. Sorry about that. There is one more thing that it's. I see this, and when the specialist that the border are using and MPE are using, they are trained, and I discussed that with some of that, and in my experience, they are trained like a penalty case. That's it must be they some cases as I can see that they set that is 90%. Fredrik must his case, he must prove the case with 90% correctness. That's wrong, but because the law say 50%, that's it, not 90% like the penalty case. But where they, I take the lawyer for the government who is in Supreme Court also. She said in her response to me to my subpoena that Fredrik hasn't documented his claims. And I told her in the phone when I talked to her, are you serious? The law don't say documentation, it's impossible. It's probability. We don't use documentation, but she used that word, documented. So then you understand that it seems like that he has to document his claims, but it's not his probability. It must be more than 50% probability. And the judge, when you go to court, they do the same. They listen to the professional who is the lawyer, who is the doctor, and if they are taken very high, the court will do the same. I hope this explanation is easy to understand. So it's several explanations. Everything is against Fredrik and the patient.
Yeah. Thank you. I understand.
I see Magnus wanted to say something.
Ja, Fredrik, jeg tar det på norsk hvis det er greit, så får du bare oversette.
Okay.
Ja.
Sure.
Jeg skjønner at det er en veldig vanskelig sak å skape bevis som er til ditt favør. Jeg lurte på, har dere bevis som er til ditt favør per dags dato?
Magnus was asking, he understands it's very hard for us to show our evidences in my case to support my case. He asked, do I have any? I would say yes, we do. We have a couple of things actually from our older psychiatrist who basically has been written his statement that Fredrik has not get good treatment at all. the Norwegian patient compensation are basically, yeah, they are basically not looking. They overlook that statement. We have all my diagnosis now. I did not say trauma, maybe the word myself, but I did say I experienced being bullied and a very hard life. Yeah, bullied, racism, a lot of other stuff, which a good therapist would actually, like Laura, say, okay, maybe I need to check if you have borderline, maybe I need to check if you have complex PTSD and all those type of things. So, but yes, we do have a couple of evidence, but it does not really matter as long as their specialists are not looking enough on it. And it's very frustrating, actually. Maybe Thor can actually say something about why they do even that. It's very strange.
Yeah, it's very strange. I asked for an explanation about that, and they said we just dismiss it. That's it. It's a very strange argument. So we hope that a new specialist will look through that. We have evidence, like Fredrik said. There are evidence. How good they are, it's impossible right now to say.
Var det bra svar, Magnus?
Ja, jeg fikk svaret jeg lurte på. Men et annet spørsmål også. Jeg har jo snakket med deg i lang tid om det her, og du sier også selv nå i dag at du er sliten. Har dere noe tidsperspektiv på det her? Ser dere et lys i tunnelen, eller hva dere tenker der?
Magnus was basically asking, when will this case be done? He says, yeah, I told him, I told everyone I'm very tired, and I think it's 1st of April, everything is supposed to be done. So we basically have a couple of more weeks to try to collect the money to actually get the second opinion. And the other thing with the second opinion is good. I will actually go and meet that person and sit face to face and talk to that person, which they denied me to do now. But if I get the new person to look at on the case, I will actually go and meet it myself. And we also have picked a person who has been in the court since 1989. He had knowledge about adoption traumas, and he knows all about that. So he will actually see, hopefully, the whole me. If we could get that person, I think that could maybe tip the scale to even that maybe I could win this. Yeah. Is there any other questions? No. Yes. Other than that, I think it's life did not actually become as expected to say at least. I never thought that I would spend so much time in and out of institutions and in this mental health struggle and all that. But I learned a lot. I've met a lot of amazing people, also therapists, but also other patients, other people. You actually learn a lot being sick yourself. You learn sympathy, empathy. You actually take care more about yourself when you're starting to heal, but also you take good care of other people, which I think it's not all bad from all this. It's a lot of good knowledge to learn from it too. But I am exhausted now. It's been going on for so long. I'm saying it again. I'm just waiting for this case to be over, and I will find some other passions to do. I was doing music before. Maybe I could go back into that again. And I'm very grateful that I have very good friends and people around me now. And I still have a lot of work to do on myself, but I'm still on it. So it's going to be good. Yes. And I'm very tired now, and we're almost there in the end now for an hour. So I think I just want to thank everyone who came on this meeting. Ingrid, thank you for all the help. Laura, for your contribution, and same as Thor, and everyone else who showed up for this meeting. I hope if everyone is struggling with, that's life, but I really hope that show up for yourself and show up for each other, and it's going to be okay. So I think I'm done now. I need a break. So thank you very much and have a good evening.